Hi guys, I wanted to make yet another video about the Dakota Access Pipeline. It's the third video in what is becoming a series, and this one's going to be some basic kind of corrections, kind of not. So some anti or pro-protester people, I should say, they people that agree with shutting down the pipeline and think that the protesters are being treated badly and things like that. I've been getting some of their comments and talking to them on Twitter. And one thing they brought up is segmentation, which I didn't know much about it, but I've been looking into it. And they apparently you can't. It's illegal. So if you're making a big pipeline, say it's 1,000 miles, you can't cut it up into 10, 100 mile um, segments and then call each one a separate pipeline. But that's not actually what they're doing here. Um, and Also keep in mind, like this all goes through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and they have to go and accept it. And then this has been through court, and both sides have been able to give their side, and the court's taken the side of the construction. So you really have to say that a lot of different forces are coming together to favor the pipeline illegally. And it starts turning more and more into a conspiracy theory from a side, in my opinion, that hasn't exactly had the most honest arguments up to this point, with like this saying it was on their land, and then when they're caught, that's actually not on their land. Then we go into, oh, it used to be their land under a treaty before, from like 150 years ago, and then they ignore that there was a war fought, um, and it was the U.S. Sioux War, and the U.S. side effectively won the war and created a new treaty that both sides agreed to, but of course it was under the spoils of war atmosphere. So yeah, they lost some land and things like that. And you can talk about the legitimacy of that, but that happened over 100 years ago. So that has nothing to do with this pipeline. So borders is not a very honest argument. And then you get into the water source argument, which is like probably one of their more close to legitimate concerns, except like this water isn't actually on their land, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers doesn't think that this is a big risk to the water, and you know, if this was a major risk to the water, they wouldn't have passed it. They could have rerouted it. That's the other thing. This was going to go through Native American land, but it was purposely rerouted to make them happy. And shows you give an inch, they take a mile. And because what they want is not to avoid this being in Native American lands. What they want is for this pipeline to be shut down altogether. And when you look at it like that, it puts a new spin on the goals of the protesters. Um, and I don't mean, the manipulative kind of spin. I mean the enlightening kind of spin. The unspin, if you'd like. But to get into the segmenting issue, this is what I found to be kind of it seems to be an anti-protest or an anti-pipeline article, to be honest, but it's from September 8th, but it's this NWP 12, which is this, and I'll post this in the description. It's Nationwide Permit 12 is what it stands for, and it allows you parts of pipelines and other utilities to be um, accepted and passed under less scrutiny of environmentalism and things like that. Um, And they kind of bring that up here, but that there are broader ways to look at this. But in the end, oh, it's right here. Sorry, there are broader environmental review under the National Environmental Policy Act, and that's fine if that's what you want um, going forward. But right now, this NWP 12 is legal to use in the manner they are using it, and you can even tell by the quote, which is coming from these uh, environmentally pro-environment, I should say, groups that they say, simply put, the Congress did not intend the NWP program to be used to streamline major infrastructure projects like the Gulf Coast Pipeline, the Flanagan South Pipeline, and the Dakota Access Pipeline. So right away that shows they've already done it multiple times. And there's a precedent for this. For the reasons explained herein, we strongly oppose the reissuance of NWP 12 and its provisions that allow segmented approval of major pipelines without any project-specific environmental review or public review process. Now, I don't agree that there's no environmental review. There still is some, it's just not nearly what. There's a reason it says do a broader review up here, is because there is some. And anyways, so this is legal to use. It's not segmenting illegally, and it's not, creating all these different pipelines and, saying that one pipeline is many or anything like that. And another thing that's been brought up is that, like, the Obama administration, there were claims it hasn't passed this yet, and I'm not actually sure if that's true or not, but assuming it's not, the Obama administration is likely to, because this article keeps like slamming. It's, they keep saying President Barack Obama's climate and energy legacy is the NWP 12. And then they slam them again here, alleged NWP 12 abuses by the Obama administration. So they clearly see the Obama administration as part of the problem. And now to say, use him as your defense, it's not a very strong one. So then we move on to this woman who blew up her arm, basically, and she claimed it was by a concussion grenade. But turns out I'll be posting this article too by Bearing Arms. You can go and look. It's not. I'm not exactly sure the police were using concussion grenades now, because this article is claiming somewhere in here that down here that curiously none of the protesters have been able to provide video, photos, or physical evidence of the police possessing, much less deploying, such a device, as officers deployed on site do not use concussion grenades. Oops. So I'm not sure if that's true or not, to be honest, but it's putting this more into murky waters that concussion grenades were even used. But I still want to, for now, I'm still going to assume they were used. Because I don't have any evidence to really back this up, and I don't know, maybe it's in here. I can't quite remember, but you can look through it yourself if you want. But then I don't think it's really that important. That's why I don't get that hung up on it. It's what's really important is the investigation of this bomb, in my opinion. This is the bomb where I mentioned that the police, the sheriff's department, county sheriff's department, was claiming they were planting bombs through propane tanks, and that's exactly what these are. And they made IEDs out of them, allegedly, and now they're gonna take the DNA, see if there's any DNA on them, and they came through and confiscated the clothes that she was wearing, which was given over by her father, and her father basically wants. They have a verbal agreement according to this article, but they also, I think they have a written agreement too, if I remember right, um, that the father can have his own forensics people, test it, but that um, domestic terrorism, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, is investigating it as if, she's the suspect here. That's according to the father, anyways. So, you can, I'll give you this article so you can look through it, but they think she is a domestic terrorist. So, you know, it's you have to be careful which side you take here. Just because, they're Native American protesters and just because these are environmentally friendly protesters doesn't make them right. And sometimes the side that claims to be the friendly side, the honorable side, sometimes they're the unhonorable side. Um, and then I wanted to actually show her injuries because I think it makes it, her injuries, they're so serious that it makes it less likely that they were actually done by a concussion grenade. So I'm about to show you those. If you don't want to see them, you can close this out now or look away, but this is pretty much the end of my video. Anyways, so scrolling down, these are her injuries. Apparently she did lose her arm. This is her bone. It looks like. So this is a huge explosion. She's in serious pain. It looks like it's probably serious blood loss there. That's pretty disgusting. And for that to be done by a non-lethal grenade or less than lethal grenade, whatever you want to call it, eh, I'm not so sure about that. Would it lay on her arm? So, um, I'm not buying the concussion grenade story for now, but again, we can wait for the investigation, and I think that the propane tank will come up with her DNA. It'll be matched to her clothes, and that'll be that. If it's not, then the concussion grenade story becomes much more likely. So let's, wait out this investigation and find out what really happened. But in my opinion, the most likely story for this whole thing right now is that she was planting a bomb, just like the police said, and she got caught in it, and she'll probably be charged with domestic terrorism. So, anyways, I will talk to you guys later, and here's this. Remember, there's going to be this 50-page nationwide permit 12 if you want to read over that. So and I'll put that in the description. Like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content. I'm probably going to be moving on to different topics after this. If you have a suggestion, I'll take it on. I'm thinking about talking about some libertarian talking points and kind of shooting them down on behalf of property rights, because I heard Sargon of Akkad talk and that guy T talking about that issue, and I kind of wanted to weigh in on some things they didn't mention. I'm also like a pro status, so I'm thinking about throwing some of those in, but I'm open to other topics as well. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed the video.